AI has been powering through our systems, be your cell phone, be your desktop applications or business applications. So we are put in a path where we probably have to adapt or embrace AI. Now, it is good, it's all good, but we must also acknowledge that there is a natural concern around its safety and its usability.
Thank you for joining us with Preethi Singh today, who is currently acting as a chief of staff and is currently on the advisory board of Our Lady of the Lake University, as well as being a member of the International Association of Women. And so, again, thank you, Preethi, for joining us. And we just look forward to talking about BI and, in particular, project management within BI.
Well, thank you, Ian, for having me in your podcast and letting me share my experience with you. Just a bit of a background of where I started from in my tech career. I come from back office programming as a mainframe programmer, writing all those complex, intense reports and the account reconciliation programs. So I used to wonder if I took the right career path because all my friends, or most of them, were working on this fancy UI, UX, Java screens. But working on these reporting modules helped me understand better the complex business logic in the banking systems and also made me understand the relationship between data, data analysis, and also data patterns. So it helped me move into more into data and analytics space. And later, I took up opportunities as project manager, program manager, helping doing global implementations across several domains, primarily banking, but I also took up opportunities outside banking in retail and other spaces. But I understand how data could be a key dimension in making effective
Right.
business decisions.
Right.
But to further enhance my career and to get expertise in management and information systems, I took up an executive CIO program with New York University.
Okay.
Recently, I was given the opportunity to be an advisory board member for the Lady of the Lake University, as you mentioned, and specialize in customer experience management. I'm also an active member of IAW, International Association for Women. I'd like to connect with like minded women in my field and definitely outside my field as well. So far, I've been grateful to all the opportunities and the people I have met, and looking forward to connecting with you as well and share my experience a bit more further.
So, given your experience and kind of given your going from mainframe data frames to where you are today, what would you recommend to somebody who's looking to start into the BI space, or is there some sort of like quickest way from 0 to 100 in arriving into such a career?
Sure. I'll just share a little bit of my experience around that. Uh, See, as a project manager or a program manager, I've interacted with business leads across domains, be it sales, marketing, supply chain, or banking. But one thing I've commonly understood that most of our core challenges that we have been facing, or I have heard from my BI leads and IT leads, was around making the data available faster, definitely of high quality, and at the same time making sure you have the latest of the product capabilities that you could have in the analytics, making sure the latest of product capabilities in the analytics space. Now see, these data metrics that we are trying to pull, they could be business critical information. We are talking about customer churn rate, we're talking about sales KPIs, revenue metrics, and whatnot. So speed, quality, at the same time making sure you have the latest of technology is equally important. So, as a project manager, what I have learned to do or what I have implemented in my couple of recent experiences was a couple of core functions, which I like to just talk about. One is implement agile best practices in product management. Second is do a deep dive of their internal IT process and also business process. By doing these two, I've helped reduce the cycle time to 20 to 30%. When I mean cycle time, the time taken to stand up an application, the time taken to stand up an infrastructure which renders data to the BI space.
Right.
And third one is I also wanted to focus on customer experience management because that helps you drive your business adoption, that helps you drive your business development further, at the same time helping the business define their KPIs and hit on the KPIs. But just to elaborate further, I would just want to share with a recent proposal me and my team worked on. We were working on a proposal where we were migrating programs from Tableau to Power BI. Now, this had a very straightforward business case. The business case was like cost optimization. We were going to reduce this price by 70 to 80%. So it was a straightforward business case. So we all thought that it was going to be easy for us to buy in, get the business buy in. But when we were interacting closely with my leads and the users across the domains, we understood they were not that comfortable as we thought, even though it had an obvious cost advantage.
Right.
And the reason being, see, they're going to be too comfortable in their existing environment. They like Tableau, everything works fine, so why change? Why more? Right? So that's where I think we all realized, and it became a very important program management practice to implement change management principles. Again, it's not a fancy word. We did a few things which made them comfortable. I guess that is what we were trying to do. We tried to work closely with them, making sure that they were included in the discovery phase of this migration program. We worked with them, we worked across the users, reviewed the reports, drive accountability across them, and gave them the transparency so that they were fully embedded in the entire discovery process. And second thing, when we presented the migration approach of how we are going to migrate from system A to system B, we included them in that process as well. And we also showed them a very detailed ROI plan of how they're going to realize their return on their investment. Having said that, one key thing that we understood was even though the why, the business case of the entire migration program was very clear cost optimization, 70 to 80% cost reduction, the most important element we understood was customer experience management throughout the journey, making sure
Right.
the customers and the business was embedded in terms of how we are going to do. When we got that trust from them, the rest of the process was becoming much more seamless and simpler. So one thing
So
I just
what do you feel like, or what do you feel like was one of the core pieces that you did that really made that trust difference? Because I think that's one of the biggest problems with BI is this adoption or this trust within the business and how to make sure. Because when you're using the term customer, you're talking about the business, right?
sure, yes,
So um, what was it that helped kind of shape, or what do you feel like was the core thing? Like if you were to give the audience kind of one major thing that they can focus on doing to ensure that they create that business trust, that business adoption.
sure. See, when we create the business case, when we define the why we need to do a migration, I believe we focus on four Q KPIs, right? One is if there's a cost optimization, or is there an infrastructure optimization, or is it simply getting to a better technology to adapt to the latest market trends? It's going to be one of these things. Or
Right.
it's going to give a better user experience, not to forget that, right? Sometimes you go to a new technology to give a better UI, a better UI UX feel, and whatnot. Now, even though the KPIs are well defined during the business case, the whole program becomes successful when we meet the KPIs, when the road hits the plan. So I guess making sure that the KPIs are implemented is the key. And how we can able to do that is to include them along the journey when we define the discovery and the later phases as well, and give them a confidence of able to realize or measure those KPIs timely, not at the end of the project. Let's say I have a $5 million cost savings after 2 or 3 years. Now I could create a proposal, give them the plan, and have someone else implement the project. That's one way to
Right.
do. But I guess the better way to do is probably give them a plan how they can realize or hit those KPIs in a phase wise manner. After 6 months, they can just see that, as a first milestone. After 1 year, they can see the first milestone. Give them a yearly plan. I know it could be a simple thing to say, but I believe giving them early in the game a phase wise milestone is going to give a greater confidence to the business users, to your IT leaders, and to everybody in the project. It drives accountability overall. So I would say that is something I've helped learn myself in the recent couple of programs we did. And this one was one major proposal which I thought I could share with you.
Right. Yeah. So I love that. So wh- what was were you ensuring that when they moved from, and you said Tableau to Power BI, right? When they were doing that and you were making that transition, was the reports that was being produced, were you helping making sure that those were creating additional value? Was there any piece there where they're moving from one thing that's just a straight, complete replica of the other? Or was this something where they had like a significant improvement? So then they had causality and excitement to move to the new product.
Sure, then that's a great question. We were adding few features which would excite the users and also which made sense from the IT debt standpoint as well. we introduced a couple of few features when we were developing the backlog for this program. One is there was a need for implement a data governance or report governance in terms of defining accountability of user domain, making a distinction between the reports in terms of driving the accountability. There was a need to do it. It was more of a Tableau administration, so now it will be a more of a Power BI administration kind of a way. That was a feature we introduced that was more from IT standpoint. From business user standpoint, see, there was another selfish reason for us to move to Power BI. One is you're going to open the doors to Microsoft and the every other new capability that then Microsoft can introduce you to. It could be Fabric, it could be Copilot, it could be n number of new features that we could actually move into, into a new platform. So that was an exciting part which we were able to convince. I wouldn't say convince, but we were able to show to the users that hey, you're going to Microsoft, so you could open up doors for Copilot, and we can also open up doors to Fabric, which is the new technology. So that was a big buy-in. But do remember that Tableau had excellent UI features. So that was one element which we had to convince the users in terms of hey, I already like the UI. Tableau does everything for me, so why change? So there were elements where we had to include UI UX specialists from Power BI to ensure we maintain the user experience at least as much as we can when we move from
Right.
system A to system B. So that was required. And definitely, to your point, user training was also being arranged or part of the plan to make sure there's less disruption when you move to a new system. So
Right.
definitely, like you said, right, business and probably leadership are more focused on cost optimization. But I think it goes without saying user experience cannot go compromised. So we had to ensure we added features from IT and business standpoint to ensure the user experience is at least as point.
Right.
To answer your point.
So so one of the things that kind of, as you're talking about this, is did you notice a difference between helping with the customer or the business experience as it related to, let's just say, the average person in billing versus an executive leader who is getting analytics reportings or dashboards from Tableau? Was there a difference, and how did you kind of manage and deal with that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Each and every user had their own expectations from what they're looking for in the report.
Right.
And one way we managed was we defined pilot POCs for each and every department or each and every business division, if you will. The pilot users represent the majority of the customer base for their particular division. So he or she will be the spokesman representing, be it engineer who's using the report or be it an executive or CFO who's ensuring or using the report. So when we did the discovery phase, we ensured that we created a pilot or a champion representing each and every business division who could help us get the feedback from his or
Right. So like a
her or
SME
yeah,
almost?
yes,
Perfect. Okay.
yes. So he helped us, or he or she came and helped us give us a feedback of what is expected. Of course, we will not be able to hit all the 9 on 10 or 10 on 10 expectations from them, but we ensured what will be the key parameters they'll be expecting. So in some cases, there were reports which were run only once in a quarter. So that immediately we knew it was an executive who's running a quarterly report. So we had to ensure those reports were migrated, but migrated with care. You don't want to make
Right.
the execute, you don't want to make the
Yeah.
CFO or CEO angry, right? So we had to ensure that we represented all the audience, and we the pilot or the champion who was nominated, they helped us. They did a great job in giving us a feedback representing the entire team.
Got it. And so were you able to work out something within the organization where these SMEs or champions were able to be benefited in some capacity, so there was more like career growth or career opportunity or salary compensation of any sort by stepping up and doing this additional work and facilitating that role?
That's a great question, probably a little bit above my pay grade.
Okay.
But part of the steering committee, they were represented, so the name was called out. I'm sure the leadership recognized for their role because it's a little bit above and beyond for them. But the steering committee made sure the roles were clear. In fact, when I was talking about implementing more of an IT governance for the report, their role was more function, where it was turning into, I would say, a domain owner or a SME owner for a target state Power BI platform. Maybe that was a bit more than what they were doing in their current role, or may not. But I'm sure that their leaders and managers made sure that they were compensated in one way or the other.
So I know we had a couple other topics of interest of yours. In particular, you kind of wanted to address some of kind of best practices for AI as we've been seeing, just kind of in this AI revolution. A lot of kind of as we've been seeing in this AI revolution, we've been just seeing a lot of kind of wild, wild west going on. A lot of tall tales being sold. So would you mind kind of speaking about that, giving us kind of some insights from what you've been seeing as to kind of best practice implementation of AI and things of that nature?
Sure. See, this is a favorite topic for most of us. Like you said, at the same time, it also excites us equally, right? But I just want to share a couple of things, only because I have the love for humanity, right, and how much I love, put people first, more than technology, or making sure technology helps people towards their goals. This is definitely not to put any AI development in a different color. But I want to share a little bit of my opinions and thoughts. I don't know if that makes sense to majority of the audience, but probably might be useful. What I've been seeing, right? I mean, AI everywhere. But of late, we all have to acknowledge that AI has been powering through our systems, be your cell phone, be your desktop applications or business applications. So we are put in a path where we probably have to adapt or adopt or embrace AI. Um, now, it is good, it's all good, but we must also acknowledge that there is a natural concern around its safety and its usability. But the way I would like to see is I only want to think AI to be helping human beings to accelerate their innovative efforts, be it saving human lives in medical field or accelerating your operational efforts. So net, it has a potential which is very positive, but I think one needs to acknowledge that there's a good opportunity for all the AI leaders and managers to implement a robust, safe AI framework, because the consequences of it going other side could be irrevocable. So there is a great good, but there can be a lot of the other side of negative effects as well. So as leaders
So
and
when you
innovate.
say irrevocable, like help walk through what do you actually mean by that? What is something that is can't be undone once it's been set forth?
Sure. I'm not going to go much in detail, but I'll probably give you hints and highlights of what I think can go wrong. One is the seed for AI, or the core input for AI, as we know, is data from public sites, data
Right.
from several electronic devices. In the name of data monetization, that we can all get excited to source data or to find out how to source the data. All I want to say is that probably find a much more regulated way, or ensure you have a regulated way to source the right data in the name of data monetization. Make sure we use the local and the global regulatory guidelines, so that we follow the right method to collect the data. Now that's number one. And there's also a selfish reason to do it. Let's say I create an AI model. The AI model is going to perform well only when it's going to give quality results. And you get quality results only when you go for the right data. So quality here is needs to be the highest priority. And how do I ensure I have a high quality data, right? So instead of, I would say, I'm not necessarily asking us to slow us down in the process. You see, the idea is to get it first time right. The idea is to create a safe AI environment so the results are of high quality, but at the same time, making sure it followed the right way to source the data, contain, and share data. In all these three places, make sure we follow all applicable safety guidelines. Now, this is going to be the most important feature as a product manager. I'm just thinking from a product manager standpoint, I'm thinking for any AI innovator standpoint. In addition to thinking about the use case that I can use for an AI, I would also make sure I'll add an important feature there which ensures the way I source the data, the way I share the data and monetize it is going to be following all the AI safety principles. Now that's needs to be I would don't want to use the word mandatory, but more or like I believe it needs to be a key feature that needs to be part of any AI model or a feature development process. I'm not sure if I
Yeah,
answered the question, but
yeah. So, what are those safety guidelines? What are those base? What are those best practices? Like, if we were to give like your top two or three, I mean, I know you'd mentioned data quality, but what are some of those guardrails where it's like, hey, before you implement an LLM in relation to some of your customer data or your marketing and sales information or operational analytics, um, what are some of the best guidelines and practices that you would recommend?
I'm all I'm asking is to follow the local guidelines. Be if it's CCPA or it is GDPR, make sure that the data collection process or data sharing it allows following these guidelines, so that we don't want to be sharing data inadvertently outside the framework that we have designed. And I'm also even starting with the way we are sourcing the data. Make sure, I know we talk about consent and data when you're sourcing it, data which has got consent from users and whatnot. But I would say double check, triple check to make sure we are within the guardrails, when you're sourcing data or even sharing data within the framework. And just to touch upon that, there's another topic which comes to my mind is about being able to organize your data based on specific product or domain. Uh, that's also going to help you not only for AI but generally in terms of faster retrieval per se. One thing I have seen is there's a need to organize data into clusters, whether it is going to be a domain specific. When I say domain, whether it is going to be a business specific or a customer specific or a product specific. So when we are even creating the initial data architecture, if we could throw 1 or 2 cents towards organizing the data in terms of the key metrics that you think customer or business would benefit of, even during that stage, in addition to ensuring you have the greatest data quality, in addition to making sure we have the best data sharing principles, also ensure if the data is organized so that it allows faster retrieval, and not only that, also gives the flexibility to the business user to be able to operate as in it's a part of a marketplace. Just imagine that I want to introduce a new domain tomorrow. I am a customer. Already represent a business division, and I recently got another business division, which I will be owning from tomorrow. So I need to introduce data elements for this business division. So what do? I go to the marketplace. I introduce this new domain, and I introduce new data elements for this. So having such a flexible open model, by organizing data in terms of domain specific or customer specific, is going to enable me to introduce data faster into my ecosystem, and also it's also going to help me retrieve data. When I say data, I'm talking about KPIs which business would be interested to do. Of course, there's all these 9 yards and magic behind, where one needs to create a data model, one needs to create a summary, one needs to create a detail. There could be hundreds of things that we'll be doing, maybe business logic, but creating a much more flexible, open model which allows you to organize the data can also accelerate your AI, which could help you retrieve data faster. Now, see, all these guidelines, for the safety principles is not necessarily to slow down the process. Again, because I know, like, when you get excited, when you receive a new use case, as a human, like as an IT professional, even my tendency would be to go and implement it. But I think anytime when you start with something new, which is brand new, I would say start with small use cases, start small and then scale it later. Because what I'm reading is the infrastructure to stand up an AI and to maintain it is, we're talking about millions and billions of dollars. So I don't know how soon we can realize the ROI, the return on investment on such use cases. So I believe the initial discovery phase, like I said, as in any other program, needs to really lay out the ROI plan, either year on year or phase by phase, but make sure, do I have the right use case? Number two, will I be able to retrieve my return on investment in a timely phase, or is my investment even worth it? I know it's not specific to AI, but to any investment which is huge, in this case, especially AI, which requires billions of infrastructure investment in terms of CPU or your GPU needs, I would say this is another thing which I could think of before jumping into AI. Maybe there's a custom requirement or a custom build that we can do in your system, in your application, instead of going to AI. Again, not to like discourage the AI users, but see if it is really worth it. See if you can have a custom made application. So these are the questions which actually one could think of before the, like you mentioned, the wild west AI thing. Then the idea is not to reduce the enthusiasm of AI users. It is definitely there. It is coming. It's there everywhere. It's on my phone. But make sure that, does it actually, is it actually worth it? Do you think, am I going to see a return on investment in 6 months? Am I going to see it in 1 year? Or am I sure? No, I know these are hard questions to answer. Trust me, I understand. I get it. These are very hard questions to answer. Sometimes you have to take the leap of faith. But just do your due diligence, do your research, do your discovery, discuss, have your innovative circle. I don't know. I thought this is something that I want to share with my colleagues and with my IT professionals in my space.
Awesome. Well, Preeti, thank you so much for your time, and we just really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about project management. And we just, in respect to BI, and we look forward to potentially having you on again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you very much for having me in your conversation.